What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Talking to the Law Benfica podcast. We were sorry for being late. We were trying to get some of the girls on, but we're having some technical difficulties, and we can have them. Mr. Santos is also out. Apparently, the city of Toronto has just gone through a massive blackout, so he's out of internet or he's out of power or whatever. But Cristiano is here. What's going on, man?
What's up, my man? Let me find out. Steve was trying to fix his router, his modem, and he knocked the freaking power off the grid in Toronto. Let me find out that's what happened.
It's very possible. So anyway, on tonight's podcast number 149, we will look back at Benfica versus Estoril. We'll also look ahead to Benfica versus Aroca, which is the game that comes up this weekend. And that's about it. You are listening to the Talking to the Doll Benfica podcast, the only English spoken podcast about Benfica. That's what I meant to say. Anyway, let's get right into the studio game. I'll give you the lineup real quick. Arthur in goal, Maxi, Luizão, Jardel, and Eliseu across the back. Samaris and Pizzi in the middle, Salvio, and the return of Gaetan, and Jonas and Lima up front. Cristiano, pretty much our strongest lineup here now with that Gaetan has returned.
Yeah, absolutely. And Gaitan's the missing link. When this guy steps on the field, Benfica looks like a totally different team. And I know, it wasn't exactly the toughest of competitions, but nonetheless, Benfica were able to come out with a dominant performance. Once Gaitan gets on the ball, man, everything it gets so much easier for everyone on the pitch. And Benfica obviously showed that by obviously scoring 6. And it could have been more. It could have been more. And I know a lot of fans were hoping for a lot more. But still, nonetheless, a very dominant performance by como é que se diz? Vermelhos e brancos, or brancos e vermelhos, or whichever. Esqueci, I forgot how it says.
Very dominant performance. I guess you could definitely say that dominant performance. 6-0. Jonas twice on the score sheet.
Mock.
Luizão opened up. Salvio also got a goal. I think that's good for Salvio that since looks like he hasn't been himself lately, or kind of like a shade of himself. And Pizzi. Cristiano, what can we say about Pizzi, man? Another successful adaptation, or are you still waiting a little longer?
No, I mean, listen, he shut me up. He shut me up week by week. But again, like I started off just a minute ago, I did say not exactly the toughest of competitions, but it seems like he's starting to understand the position. It seems like Jorge Jesus had him watch some Enzo Perez videos over the last couple of weeks, I should say, because the dude has absolutely stepped up and his game is definitely improved over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. So anyway, not too much to talk about. It's one of those easy games, really. And then when you look at the scoreline, 6-0, really, it's really something that there's not much to say. I mean, the team played impressively, but there's always, I guess, the skeptic in me, Chris, is just you're always thinking, okay, so maybe the opposition wasn't as tough or as that didn't give us as much fight as we were hoping for. We always have that doubt about the team, but I think right now that the team is firing on all cylinders, to be honest with you. And with Gaetan coming back, especially, it's going to be hard to stop this team, especially not having midweek games. It's going to be tough.
No, I think you hit it on the head. But at the same time, you can't say that it wasn't exactly the toughest of competitions, but nonetheless, Benfica were able to come out, play their game, and you knew coming out at home and starting to lose that they were going to put pressure and try to get an early goal, and they did just that with Luizão in the 16th minute. And then after that, it was just a walk in the park, and Benfica were able to assert themselves. Obviously, PC in the middle, doing a lot better job again moving the ball around. He's the reason why Talisca's moved on and sat on the bench over the last couple of weeks, and I think right now it was the wise decision by Jorge Jesus. And the other thing is, you mentioned Gaetan, you mentioned Savio a minute ago. And yeah, I think when Gaetan's on the field, it seems to me that Savio looks a lot more comfortable. It seems like he picks up his game because obviously now the defenders, the opposition, not just solely concentrating on him. There's obviously a lot of the game plan probably goes around Gaetan because anyone that watches Benfica week in, week out understands that Gaetan is the most creative midfielder that Benfica has. So maybe that frees up a little bit more room for Salvio to do his thing. but still a very dominant, very good and very dominant performance by all the 11 guys on the pitch. My man Lima, he's finally able to get on a score sheet once again through a penalty. I thought Jonah should have taken that, but I also understand the reasoning behind having Lima take it because he needs to get that confidence back. And if you're a poacher, you're a goal scorer, just that one PK, just the fact that he's getting the ball in the back of the net, that obviously lifts his spirits and gives him tons of confidence. So glad to see it. Just a very good performance overall by everyone on the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you bring up a great point. The fact that now
Don't I
that
always? I'm joking. I'm joking.
now that Gaetan is on the field, that some of the game plan will probably shift to defending Gaetan a little better, whether it being the defensive midfield compensating a little more to occupy some of the zones that Gaetan likes to step into, rather than just being Salvio, which up until Gaetan coming back, he was really looked at as one of the guys that could make or break a game, a playmaker, a guy that could take guys on the dribble and that can make something happen for Benfica. So I think that's a great point. That now there's a double threat rather than just a one threat. And people always knew what Olajan brought, and is nowhere near of what Salvio and Gaetan can bring on the wings. So I mean that's a great thing, and to have Gaetan back, especially now that we're entering a critical phase of the season, we're actually entering the final third of the season. I think that's really good. I think that's great news for Jorge Jesus, and also the Pizzi adaptation going well.
Yeah, it seems like he's hit. Jorge Jesus hit the nail right on the head once again with his selection here of players. He seems to find these players that we never heard of, or guys that necessarily did not play the position that Benfica needed at the moment, and he's been able to fit these guys and mold them into the types of players that Jorge Jesus likes to have on the field. And Pizzi, he's definitely taking steps in the right direction. He's understanding the positioning a lot more. It's good to see. I know I was a critic, and I'm still not totally convinced, guys. I know a couple of performances do not a career make. Let's not forget that. But he's definitely been playing a lot better of late. He was also able to get on the score sheet. I think he kind of mishit it. I didn't want to say this on air. You and I talked about it before we got on here. I said people will kill me, but it just seemed like he didn't hit it with total confidence. So that leads me to believe that he mishit it somehow. Maybe you didn't intend it to. Whatever. At the end of the day, the guy scored. That's all that matters. So, him, Samaris, finally understanding one another. Samaris another guy that's adapting to a whole new position. It just seems like George Jesus, the longer he spends with you, man, the more understanding you get of his game, and obviously the team picks up here in the latter part of the season. We see it year after year, and hopefully this continues over the last 11 games here this season.
But you really think that he mishit it? I don't know. I thought it was a well placed shot.
Dude, look at him. He looked like he was hesitant when he did it. I don't know. Epa, just that I don't know. I picture me and again, it's all about that mentality. And at the moment, I thought it looked like he lacked confidence. It looked like he wasn't sure of himself. Alfredo, you know that feeling, bro. You've been on the field, and when you hit a ball, man, he just go back and look. And I watched the replay like 50 times because the first time I saw it live, I obviously thought he mishit it right away, and I'm like, oh come on, he mishit that. And then I'm like, no, maybe he did it. And then the more replays I did, all right, he definitely meant to get it on goal. Don't get me wrong, but to me, there's just something there, man. It's that look in his eye, Alfredo. Check it out. Watch the replay, and then we'll talk about this. We'll tweet about it. And for the rest of you guys listening at home, obviously hit us up, Benfica Podcast. Let us know if I'm crazy or if you agree with me. I know most of you already do think I'm crazy, but that being said, let's keep it just strictly to this one question: if I'm crazy about BZ mishitting it.
All right, so here's something that I'm going to throw up on the screen right now for a lot of people to see, which is basically Benfica's last 10 seasons, what Benfica has done at home. And Chris, I think you could see this right
See,
now.
see.
And it's quite impressive. And obviously, the last seasons that you see, it's the totality of games, so 15 and 17 games with perhaps JJ's last 5 years. This one's the sixth. He's really only allowed 3 losses at home, which was in 2010-2011 season and 2011-2012 season. 2 losses in the first year of his, and then 1 loss in the year after that. And after that, no, absolutely no losses at home. As a matter of fact, the past 3 years, Benfica hasn't lost at home.
The one impressive thing here, well, you should say they haven't lost at home in league play.
Well, in
Okay,
league play, yeah.
in league play, let's not forget that. So to me, the one thing that's impressive there, if you go look at the goals allowed, it goes from 9 to 6 to only 2 this season at home,
Yeah.
and I think that's the one thing that Jorge Jesus, he's able to get these guys to buy into a system, and they capitalize it to the fullest. And the one thing is this: you look at the types of players that he's lost since he's been at Benfica. And so to me, this is a number that really sticks out, is the fact that they're not allowing goals. And last year, they obviously lost Cicada, okay? And we've, a lot of people still aren't convinced with Eliseo Papseco. But,
Jardel.
well, I was going to get to Jardel next, but I was with Eliseo still. Jardel, obviously, you lost Garay in that position. So there was a lot of question marks coming into the season. You knew what you're going to get out of Maxi Pereira. You knew what you were going to get out of Luizão. But those other two positions were huge holes and huge question marks coming into the season. That being said, okay, they might not be the greatest of players, and all of you know how I feel about Jardel. That being said, it's still phenomenal, the fact that they've only allowed 2 goals at home. So I tip my cap to Jardel, to Popsicle, and to whomever else steps into the fore, because we've seen Alessandro play a little bit. We've seen Cesar play. So Andre Almeida obviously played. Benito played a couple of games. So I just think it's been a phenomenal job of coaching by Jorge Jesus. A lot of people aren't crazy about this guy, but he gets the team to defend as a unit, and I think he's done a spectacular job. Let's not just forget, the addition of a Samaris into the midfield. We really did not have a legitimate defensive center mid coming into the season, and Samaris, as we all saw, it took him a while to adapt to Portuguese football. It took him a while to adapt to Jorge Jesus' system, and they've obviously done that. But they've still only allowed 2 goals, even though they all struggled at some point at the beginning in adapting to the system. So I think that's the number I definitely take away from here, because that's very impressive. I don't care what league it is. I don't care what players on the field. This is impressive.
Yeah, we also can't forget about the contribution made by Julius Caesar. I mean, we've always, and the media does this a lot, where they attribute the number, or the number of minutes that a goalie has gone without conceding, but a lot of that has to do with also the men that are in front of him. And in this case, when you speak about the defense as a whole, you're not only talking about the 4 guys across the back, we're also talking about the goalkeeper, and you're talking about the guy that sits in front of the defense. So I mean, it's a team sport, as
No,
you all know.
you know I love Julius Caesar. I was giddy when Benfica signed them. I did a couple backflips, pulled a couple muscles in the meantime. But that being said, we all know that a lot of times goalkeepers are only as good as the defense is. And in this case, yes, I'm not trying to take anything away from Julius Caesar, who I absolutely adore. Okay, I think he is a perfect goalkeeper for Benfica. He's a little bit old in the tooth, but that being said, he's still a very experienced, and you could tell when the guy's the ball at his feet, man. Everybody in the stadium is cool, chilling, no worries. You know what I mean? And when it's total opposite, when Artur, who's obviously stepped in and done a brilliant job, and Julio Cesar's absence. But to me, I think a lot of the credit has to go to the defense, because we've seen games where Julio Cesar's only had to make one save, a spectacular save nonetheless. But I think the defense has done a spectacular job of keeping the ball out of the box or away from the goal.
Yeah, and the other thing that I also that I want to talk about, and maybe Chris, you could give me your opinion on this. Do you think that perhaps because JJ saw that he didn't have as much firepower this season, where he could, where the team's output in goals would outweigh what he could do on defense? Do you think that he kind of tailor made this team to be more of a defensive team, to lock things down in the back?
Yeah, I don't think you had any other choices. I mean, we've spoken about it. Steve, myself, you, Peggy, Marco, everybody that we've had on the pod with us. I think we've all kind of agreed that Benfica is not nearly as deep a team as they were last season. That being said, Jorge Jesus knew he was going to have to count a little bit more on his defense, because that old saying, bro, if you don't give up any goals, you can't lose the game. You know what I mean? So I think he played that to the T, and Benfica have obviously done a great job of keeping the ball out of the net.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but and we've said it here time and time again that if Benfica is able to pull this bicampeonato, I think a lot of credit has to go to JJ, and it's perhaps the hardest season that he's had in his hands as far as coaching a team, as far as preparing a team. I know that we don't have that additional competition that we're fighting for in terms of European competition past those group stages that we've had in the past couple of years. But still, this is a team that compared to last year, the depth is nowhere near the depth that we had last year. So a lot has to go to JJ, the way he's worked this team and what he's accomplished with this team. A lot of credit has to go to him. So
Absolutely. You bring up a great point. This team's not nearly as deep as they were last season. But you know what, Alfredo? One thing that's surprising to myself, and I believe a lot of Benfiquistas out there at home listening to this, or even just paying attention to the Benfica throughout the regular season, which is they lost a ton of talent. That being said, they got better numbers this season than they did last season. So just think about that for a second. Not only did they lose, a team, a heart and soul of a team, a core of a team that went to back-to-back Europa League competitions. Okay, guys, it's not Champions League, but it's still impressive nonetheless. Okay, he lost the core of that team, and this season, I don't recall a season in which Jorge Jesus has been at Benfica with so many questions coming into the season as there were this year, and he's done a spectacular job. The team has better numbers. We're in first place.
yeah,
It's just, I don't think anything could have gone much better so far this season for Benfica, with the exception of maybe Sporting finally showing up to a game and doing something over the weekend, which we all know they didn't. But that being said, everything else is, it's been beautiful. It's been flowers for Benfica throughout most of the season.
yeah, and the one guy that's right in the thick of it is Jonas.
Yep,
And I was a skeptic when we first signed him.
big time.
All of you guys were on the bandwagon already because you watched a lot of La Liga, so you knew what he brought. Besides some of the mental issues that he's had, but he's fit in quite well, Chris.
It's only been a couple of months. That's the thing. Once the guy's there for a year or two, he might revert back to his old self with his attitudes. But right now, I think he has a lot to prove. You're kind of still feeling your way around the house. You're not comfortable just yet. He's probably going over the little bit of that. And you know what? You know what cures attitudes and what cures all the mal entendimientos inside the locker room is winning. And the guy not only has Benfica winning, but he's putting up numbers that, according to some of the stats I've seen so far, this is a team that's been around forever. We know Benfica is not only a great, soccer club, it's a great modalidades club, like Peggy likes to mention. But, it's a team that's conquered, anything throughout European football and obviously in Portuguese football. And Jonas has got the best numbers of any foreigner ever at Benfica. So I think, that is going to make the dude happy. He's going to make everyone else around him happy. And I think his attitude gets put to the side a little bit. And so I think that's a huge contributing factor.
Yeah, up until this game, he only trailed the Dutch.
Ben Hoyt. Ben Hoyt. I can't say that dude's name.
Van Hooydonk.
He speaks English. We should bring him on a pod.
Yeah, 17 games in Van Hooydonk had.
Don't even say his name, dude, because both of us are not saying it correctly.
I didn't write down, but he was only one goal behind him as far as first-year foreigners playing the output that they've had. He actually Jonas has a better output than Cardozo had in his first year, and I think that Jonas has surpassed Van Hooydonk. Now I wish Steve was here because he's good with all those names.
Think about this: when Jonas first
can't say Samaris.
Jonas stepped onto the field, Talisca got like 7 or 8 goals at the time. Jonas got 18 and Talisca got 11. That goes to show you the amount of goals that Jonas has been scoring. I know a friend of mine, Mr. Capitão, okay, o patrão do Benfica Podcast, Mr. Alfredo Fumasa, said the guy will not score 7. Okay, I think he surpassed that by a couple, just by a couple.
He smashed that.
Yeah, but but not just that. You'd also call him Mr. What?
Mr. Taça.
And he is, because he's got 6 goals. Everybody,
scoring a Taça.
He's got 6. Salvio's got 2, and which is crazy. No one else. No one else scored.
Yeah.
In the Taça de Portugal, no one else scored goals for Benfica in Taça de Portugal. Jonas was 6, Salvio with 2, and that's all the goal scorers for Benfica.
I think
that's
the
crazy.
Guy is. He's a huge influence on this team. He's also a big cog on this team.
Be careful how you say that.
He connects the midfield.
Minors.
God knows we've had our problems with the midfield, with Pizzi being an adapted guy, losing Enzo, and with Jonas really emerging as a guy that could connect both the midfield and the attack, a guy that's smart, that holds the ball, knows where to go, has excellent movement off the ball. He's also a guy that fights a lot, and this season, when you come to the end of the season, you're gonna have to say that this guy was one of the main players on this team,
Oh,
along with
absolutely, without a doubt. The only blemish, I mean, if you want to put one on, related to Jonas, is the fact that once he came in to the team, into the starting 11, there was really no more room for Talisca. They cannot coexist on the field at the same time. So I think that's the only blemish there. But that being said, I'm pretty sure everyone at home listening right now is pretty happy at the fact that Talisca, is on the bench, because Jonas just keeps up this torrid pace of scoring goals left and right. So I think you had to sacrifice it, Talisca, but it was well worth the sacrifice.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing, the one last thing that I wanted to mention is also Pizzi. It seems the Bola was reporting that Benfica picked up the last portion of his pass that we still had out there. So good news. And look, this guy has been around. He's jumped from club to club, from loan to loan, and really seems to be a guy that has found his place in this Benfica team. And if he adds a couple more things to his game, I think he's going to be a serious player for this team.
Yeah, I mean, we shall see. We shall see. I still have a couple of question marks regarding Peasy, but he's definitely proved me wrong over the last couple of weeks, and he's exactly what Benfica needs right now, because there are not many other options that Benfica has on the roster. Guys that could play in the middle, could do a little bit of the defensive work, and at the same time spread the ball around. That's the one thing that I think Talisca severely lacks in his game. Lacks in his game, I should say. He can't distribute. He can't set up the game, and I think that's the one thing that PZ has been proven to me, at least, that he could do so far in the last couple of games.
Yeah. Here's one question by Meg. She was supposed to be on, but we can get it together. At
Boo.
Lovers Out of Time, she
That's
asks,
her. Lovers
yeah,
out of time.
she asks, do you think the team versus Sturil can be a threat for the next year if all stay? What do you think, Chris?
I mean, aren't they a threat now? They just won 6-0 in their first place. I think they're a threat now. I think this team is, more, you know, how do I put it, man? Is likely, more or less likely to win the title this season. I don't want to jinx it, but I think that team, like you said right at the beginning of the pod, Alfredo, that is our best 11. Okay, and so that being said, they are not only a threat for next season, Meg. They're a threat for this season, and hopefully, if everything comes out right in our favor, we'll be celebrating number 35, I believe. Yeah, 35. Right?
34.
I'm two ahead. Well, maybe we're like Juventus. We get credit for titles we never won.
Yeah, I think that you give another year to Samaris, you give another year to Pizzi. If we get to keep Jonas, if he doesn't go anywhere, I think Gaetan might be gone at the end of the year. And if we added maybe a couple of guys here and there, some surgical add-ons, and add a little bit more depth, I think that we should be competitive enough. Will we have enough quality for the Champions League? That's a whole different story.
Maybe that's what Meg was referring to. Will they be a threat, to get out of at least the group next year in the Champions League, which they weren't able to do this year, nor qualify for the Europa League, which I think will be beneficial to us if we're able to come away with the win, due to the fact that we don't have to play 2 games a week. So yeah, I mean, Meg, if that's your question, okay, because I'm pretty sure that's probably what she meant, because she obviously knows that the team's a threat this year, so let alone next year. So she probably meant, next season, if they're a threat to at least make it out of the Champions League group, Alfredo. And my answer to that is it depends. Obviously, it's all the luck of the draw. Depends who Benfica is matched up against in the group.
Yeah.
But you know what? If Benfica are able to add a couple of key players here and there, just like Alfredo mentioned, you could just imagine this team getting better from where they are now. So yeah, I could see Benfica possibly making a little bit of noise, at least in the group stage, come next season.
All right, we're gonna take our break here. As always, Nelson has his segment that we're all growing to love. So here's this week's edition.
Porque estar em primeiro é muito melhor que estar em segundo ou em terceiro, mas também é preciso saber defender, é preciso saber estar quando se está em primeiro.
Nicolas Gaitan, Benfica's number 10 and playmaker, returned to full fitness and playing time this week. Before the game, however, he received the Gallas Damião Award for being Benfica's best player for the 2014 and 2015 season. Congrats to Nico. Benfica has the best scoring defense in Europe's top 6 leagues. The regular back four have 12 goals in all competitions this year. Maxi, Jardel, Luizão, and Eliseu have all been stellar. In fact, they've been so good que o Sporting já fez comunicado à Liga argumentando que fazem demasiado golos. Now, on a more somber note, we are all pet lovers here at the Benfica Podcast, and we are sad to report that we have recovered 11 kittens that were found in Porto over the weekend. They were originally thought to be lions. However, they're scared, disoriented, and have been severely mistreated. If you have any information leading to the apprehension of the mistreaters, or if you're interested in comforting, or perhaps even being so kind as to take these kittens into your home, we strongly encourage that you call Bruno Carvalho ou Manel Pipas do Estádio José Alvalade. Thanks for listening, everyone, and that's all for this week.
All right, good job, Nelson.
Come on, man. Keep the tune going. I'm ready to jam.
As always, good job. Good job by Nelson.
He definitely had me laughing.
I like the human touch on that one.
Yeah, I don't know if many Sporting is going to like that one, but I definitely enjoyed it. Yo, right, I have breaking news. I have breaking news. As you can see, I get the scoop. All right, I got a couple of connections here and there. Now, you ready for this? People sitting at home, this is breaking news. Coming to you live, 9:29 p.m. Eastern Time Zone, okay? Fredo, Steve's ready to come on. He got power. Steve has gotten power in his house, and he's ready to come on. He wants to talk some SLB. Obviously, everyone at home right now is excited due to the fact that Steve's going to come in, Mr. Chalkboard himself, and break it all down for us. Obviously, do a better job than I do because I just ramble. And Steve could have obviously get more in depth into things. So. We missed Steve, man. We missed Steve.
We missed out on the whole Sturil analysis by Steve.
Oh, here it is. I mean, I can't wait.
Right? I think that they probably didn't have much more to add than what we said. 6-0. There's not much more to talk about.
I'm pretty sure he could find a couple of things to say about Samaris being the best option at the 6th position.
Definitely. And Pizzi being the best option at the 8th position.
Yes. And Gaitan, the best option at the whatever position that is out there. And come on.
And John is being at the best. I think right now, I think that, not to be sounding like a broken record, but this is really JJ's got these guys tuned up. I mean, but it's very important that we go away to play in the little fields and up north and against these little teams. And we're able to do something, and that's what we got coming up this weekend is Roca.
Let me tell you something, man. I need to get this off my chest, okay? Yesterday, after the other podcast that I do, I was at home texting a professional soccer player that plays in the MLS, okay? A guy that has ties to Portuguese football and whatnot.
Was not Steven Vitória, was it?
I mean, maybe. And we're texting back and forth, and this guy all of a sudden loves to rag on anything Benfica, regardless of their position in league table, whatever the case may be. And he wants to throw at me the titles that Porto's won, 74 or something like that, to Benfica 73 over. I'm like, man, come on, get out of my face. And the dude actually, had the cojones to tell me that Gaitan is not this great player that we all anticipate, that we all think that he is, because if he was that good, he wouldn't last 5.5 seasons in Portugal. And I didn't even know what to say to the guy. I just said, all right, bro, yo, good luck this season. And I ended the conversation there. I mean, what else can I say? But thing is, this has been bothering me over the last 24 hours. I mean, am I crazy? Am I missing something in Alfredo, or is this guy crazy?
It's crazy, man. It's just, it's the Porcos up north, they do anything to destabilize this team. And they're going to be making up stuff. And as things get closer and things get tighter for them, they're going to just try to make up all kinds of things to destabilize, whether it's referee rumors or it's signing rumors, but anything. That's what these guys do. There he is.
Let me tell you something. This is not a rumor, okay? I have some more breaking news. This is no longer a rumor. You did not hear this anywhere. This is live. This is happening now, okay? Red carpet, the entrance, the spotlight, everything right now. Mr. Steve Santos 06, thank you very much for joining us here on the Benfica Podcast. How are you doing tonight, mister?
Better now. I'm going to be warm instead of freezing because the power was off. But now I'm here with you guys, and I have no idea where you are at in the podcast. So
you look good.
Please fill me in.
You look good, and since you came in while we were talking about rumors, I have a quick question for you. Any truth to the rumor that you set off the power grid searching for your internet connection? Any truth to those rumors?
Yeah, I think you got me. I think you've uncovered the rat. I think you figured it out.
All right. So
should I go? What happened?
What's your mayor's name? The dude that likes to go skiing. If you understand what I'm saying, skiing, likes the powder stuff. What's his name?
Our former mayor.
No longer a mayor.
Whatever. He's still Toronto's biggest superstar. So he's your.
No, that's me.
That's right.
You're to the Portuguese audience by far. You come. I think you come right behind Neil. Sneal, then you.
What about Steven Vitoria?
Steven's forgotten. Nobody even talks about that guy no more. He left Benfica. He becomes a has-been. It is what it is. Nobody thinks about that kid no more, except us. Obviously, we keep his spirit alive by mentioning him every single podcast. He should send us some of his paycheck just for the fact that we keep him alive. But Steve, listen, we've been talking about a whole lot, I should say, about the studio game. Obviously, the dominant performance by Benfica over the weekend. Jonas once again showing the top-class player that he is. Your boy Pizzi, Samaris, all these guys seem to have been, buying into Jorge Jesus and understanding the system a lot better. So that's where we were at. And also, Gaetan back into the starting 11. I mean, that's what we were talking about. Everybody's been sitting on pins and needles waiting for your thoughts.
You didn't miss much. I'm sure you didn't have a detailed analysis of the 6-9 beating of Studio.
No, it was a game that ended up being quite easy. A lot of it comes down to how fluid we were in attack and how good we were going forward. And I think if you try to analyze it a bit, part of it has to come back with Gaetan. I mean, just the fluidity of it, I think, is a direct evidence of how good of a player this guy is. He knows when to overload areas and really pop up in the middle, even the opposite flank. He knows when to almost seem uninterested and stick to the left wing and just wait till the ball comes to him and he can go 1v1 against a player or be what it is. But Gaetan is just something else. And the fact that he's been gone for a month and a half, you don't even notice it because the guy's just so technically superior to most players on the pitch that he just thinks that much quicker than everybody else. You don't see that he's rusty. It's just he's an exceptional player, and we did definitely miss him, and I'm glad to see him back. It's funny you mentioned Samaris too.
Why is that funny?
LOL funny or like funny?
No, like funny because you kept on bashing the guy, but at this point he's easily our most improved player. And if you look at it, in the Sporting game, we played a different kind of game. We kind of allowed him to come at us, and he was plugging up gaps behind fullbacks and between the center backs, that kind of thing. In this game, where we were just demanding the game, we were commanding the game, I guess is the better word to say, the guy was just all over the place. He was keeping Studio pinned back because he was just anticipating anywhere that these counterattacks would come from. And he was just winning the ball back, and when he won the ball back, he would make sure that we wouldn't lose it either. He would just keep us ticking, play the right ball, and we would just keep on going forward and keep him pinned back, and there was no counterattacks at all. So Samaris is just, at this point, he's just growing in stature, game after game, better and better.
Yeah, I'm with you.
And that right there is why Steve Santos gets paid the big bucks, ladies and gentlemen. And those of you at home that do podcasts and you guys think you could do this crap, talk soccer, that's how it's done. That's how it's done right there.
Anyway, let's turn our attention to Aroca now. And as I was saying, I'm always fearful of these games where we travel up north to play these teams that will play on defense and these little pitches. But Steve, the one thing that always scares me to go to play this Aroca is David Simon, bro.
Oh, the guy with something to prove, a nice left foot. You always worry. The guy plays a mean dead ball too, and today we haven't had too many problems with the dead ball, but it has served us problems before. So we'll see. But he's a player I always like to watch. I like how he's got that nice technique to him.
Yeah, definitely. But it comes up this Sunday at 4 p.m. local. So it's, it's. How about now, Steve? Is it good?
Much better.
Sorry. So it comes up this Sunday. It's local, 4 p.m. It's very. It's a complicated game for us ahead of the Braga game. We definitely have to get this win before we go to play Braga against. Next weekend coming up at the Estádio Luz, a team that's given us so many problems this season. As a matter of fact, I think that they're the only team that's beaten us domestically at least twice. I think Braga, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they're the only team. I mean, obviously we lost once to Paço Ferreira, lost a league game and a Taça game to Braga. So, yeah, I think you're right on with that, right, Steve? You're the dude with all the numbers.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not that good at numbers, but he's absolutely right.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right after this Aroca game, as I've said, we're entering the final third of the season. But here's what we got coming up. We got Aroca away, then we got Braga at home, Rio Ave away. That's also going to be a tough game. Then we have a double fixture at Estádio da Luz against Nacional and then against Academic. Academic is not doing all that bad. Doing not all that good, I should say.
All that good, yeah.
And then we go to Bolonense. We have the Taça da Liga final, which most likely is going to be against Porto, and then we host Porto at Estádio da Luz. So up until that game against Porto, which will prove to be a very, I would say, crucial and important game for our season, we got a couple tough games. Rio Ave, I would say, Braga especially, Rio Ave away. Nacional has been doing very good this second half of the season. And the trips at Bolonense, regardless on whether Daverson's no longer there. Miguel Rosa, now you got
Font.
You got Font, regardless. But Braga and Rio Ave, I think Braga is going to be a crucial game. And the one key thing is that you want to go and play Porto with still that 4-point advantage.
Absolutely. I think that's the most important thing. In these upcoming matches, we play Aroca away, which when you travel up north, not that far north, I think Aroca is just a little bit east of Aveiro, so it's not that far north. But they do have ties to Porto, and you just know how that works. It's one of those games too that we're kind of conditioned by players that may miss the Braga game, if I'm correct. Yeah, we're looking at what, Maxi.
Yeah, we got 6 by
Maxi, Gaetan,
Eliseu, Talisca.
Talisca doesn't really matter at this point.
Yeah, Talisca doesn't matter at this point.
Eliseu it might be a blessing in disguise. Maxi and Gaetan, I do not want to lose. Really, is what it comes down to.
But you know what? Let's not forget. Going into the Porto game, Maxi was also in a very similar situation that if he would have picked up a yellow card, he wouldn't play. And Jorge Jesus played him. And he did not get a yellow. Obviously, he played the very next week against Football Porto. So I think he has enough trust in these guys. But I think at this point, where we're at right now in the season, I would absolutely sit him. I would play Andrea Almeida, even Silvio,
Yeah,
who's back.
Silvio,
Give these
yeah.
guys, Benito, even, I know you're not crazy about Eliseo, but I still want to try to rest the guy because I would like to have him in a big game against Braga because Lord knows we're going to have to attack and put the ball in the back of the net against those teams. So I think with all those guys, with the exception of Talisca, I'd probably try to sit every single one of them if I could, or try to play them and sub them off at some point.
Yeah, that's gonna be tough, man. I think that as far as
we are playing Oroca. This is not.
Yeah,
we're not playing Braga here. It's Oroca.
Yeah, as far as and they're currently 14th place, but as far as the right back and the left back position, I think we have proper backup that we could sit Maxi and we could sit Eliseo. If that's what you want to do, sit Eliseo. I think that either Eliseo or Andrea Almeida or even Silvio would do well against Braga, especially Silvio with the history he has against Braga. But I don't think that he's seen enough playing time to be able to play against Braga. And I know that we're getting a little bit of ahead of ourselves by talking about the Braga game, but I think that Braga, we need everybody sharp because they're very fast on the counter.
Absolutely. I don't see Silvio being fit enough to play against Braga. I think even against Oroca at this rate might be a bit of a stretch, but there's obvious players we could use if we really want to get very cautious. Olajan has deputized for Gaitan for 7 weeks. Andrea Almeida, whether it's on the left or the right, you'll be able to save one of the guys. There are options. I honestly don't think JJ is going to take many of them. He hasn't really been a fan of saving guys with yellow cards with a big game coming up. It just doesn't seem like something he does very often. So let's see if he proves me wrong. But I would say he starts with all the guys that he wants to start with, and then probably sub out who he can when he can.
I'd sit them all. I'd sit them all. Play Talisca left for Gaitan. Play Olajan on the right for Salvio. Pop Sick with Moxie. Obviously we have adequate replacements. I think Benfica against a team like Oroca, I think it would suit them well to get to rest those guys. Not only is it late in the season now, okay, getting to the latter part of the season, and where some players need a little bit of rest, but also due to the fact that you have a very, very, very tough opponent coming up next season, and you need to be at full strength. And if any of these guys pick up a yellow card, and Benfica's not at full strength, it's already one of these teams that brings in a lot of negativity, and obviously Benfica probably be lacking a little bit of confidence because they know this team has already had their number twice this season. So I want to be at full strength as much as possible coming up next week against Braga. I know I don't want to overlook Oroca, but I could definitely replace some of these guys that obviously have a yellow card doubt with very, very good players in their positions, and hopefully win this game. Bring in my boy Jonathan Rodriguez, Ubebadu, that all he does is score goals in the B team. Bring him on, and if it gets a little bit tough, bring him on in the second half. Hopefully, this is another thing, man. I was really upset that Jorge Jesus didn't call him up last weekend, and I don't know what's up with Guedes. I don't know if he's injured or he had a game for the B team or whatever the case may be, but I think those two guys absolutely need to be called up every single week for Benfica.
I think that with Gaitan back, I think that Guedes has dropped down on a pecking order. That's my guess.
That's what I think as well.
He's still young, man. Still young.
When it comes to that Jonathan Rodriguez guy, JJ said in his last presser he'll call him when he thinks he's fit enough to play or when he's ready to play. So I wouldn't count on him that quick if he's going to be speaking like that. If he thought he was closer, I think he said, we might see him soon. But JJ wasn't showing any signs of that. He also wasn't really playing along with any of the talk with Lopetegui. He kind of threw him a bone with was he talking about the Penafiel versus Porto games when he says refs have been helping teams out, or other than that he didn't say much else. So.
Yeah, I don't. I think if I was JJ, I would just stop answering Lopetegui in one way or another. Just leave him talking by himself.
Deixa o gajo falar pro boneco.
Talking to the doll. Leave him talking to the doll. Yeah. All right. I think that's all we have.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for making your
Steve, very good, man. You filled in the last 5 minutes. Good job, buddy.
Doctor's appearance.
Doctor's appearance.
He's like Ola John, comes in and off the bench when we need him.
It almost looks like a Geds coming off the bench thing. Get the whole 2 minutes.
Steve gets a little bit more playing time. Geds gets like 15 seconds.
Touches the ball once. Steve touched the ball a couple times.
We were talking about adequate replacements for these guys that are in question with yellow cards coming into next week. And Steve, I'm not sure you're aware due to your lack of power, but we had very, very adequate replacements. Well, near replacements to replace.
We almost had Amina and Meg.
Two first
on the
team
show, Steve.
First team options, first team choice players getting ready to hop on.
And
get it together.
More technical difficulties?
No, I just, for some reason, I can invite either one of them. They weren't showing up.
Which is a technical difficulty.
It is, but I don't know if it was our end or their end. Well, I mean...
be careful.
But Meg, I was looking forward to having Meg. Meg has been a long-time supporter of the podcast, and I would.
At least she got involved by asking questions. Steve, we had a little segment where Meg asked a question, and we answered it to the best of our knowledge. So I think this is something that we definitely need to get started on the Benfica podcast. Where, guys, if you're at home listening, tweet at us, email us, get us your questions in, because I think it'd be great to have a segment where Steve and I battle it out to see who gets more answers right week in, week out. Because the guy does not let me live it down. Every chance he gets to tell me on the podcast or on Twitter or on the phone or wherever else we might be talking, that so far, somebody seems to have turned the corner. He lets everyone know that he was right.
And Talishka?
He turned the corner as well.
Yeah, the way I said he would.
He turned the corner, he's going somewhere.
When the goals dried up, what was going to happen? But
we kind of knew that. Steve, we didn't disagree with you as far as Talishka went.
I know.
I just think that,
Steve, I know you obviously came on late, but I also mentioned before that, Talishka, as good as he was at the beginning of the season, the worst thing that happened to him was the fact that Jonas came into the starting lineup because those two guys could not coexist. So it's kind of like a little give and take, and I think right now Benfiquistas would obviously take Jonas because the guy is at a torrid pace scoring goals, and Talishka seems to have, at least for the time being, forgotten how to put the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, it's funny. JJ even took a bit of a stab at him at the press conference after the game, and he was like, "Yeah, PT's playing well now. He's taking over for Talishka, who's kind of gone a little bit sour or not producing as much, and PT's grabbed the opportunity with both hands. Who at this point it looks like he's becoming a bit of a fan favorite. PT, that is. I mean, he got a standing ovation when he got off the field. He was only played 67 minutes, and the fans chose him as best player of the match. So.
I think being Portuguese helps him out in that aspect.
Absolutely. And he seems to have a good personality to him. He seems very humble and modest as well. So let's give him that too. But he's been playing really well.
But due to the fact that he's Portuguese and all the crap he's heard over the last couple of seasons, that Benfica doesn't play Portuguese players, doesn't give Portuguese players a chance. And now you finally see a Portuguese player. Obviously, Popsicle's also chopped, but he doesn't get the credit because a lot of you guys. Well, you know what? The guy got a lethal right foot, baby. No, I'm joking. But PZ, he's getting the credit from the fans. And right now, so far, even though, again, like I mentioned at the beginning of the pod, not exactly the toughest competition, but still performing well right now at the time.
I'll be very interested to see if he plays versus Braga.
I think you will. I think at home, I know we're going forward, but I think at home, JJ's kind of has to show a little bit of that initiative, and he's going to have to play with a more attacking player than Andre Almeida, like he did against Sporting. He can't pull the same crap he pulled against Sporting.
Not at home. Not at home. So.
And now that we've seen what happened this weekend, where Porto absolutely annihilated and embarrassed Sporting, it makes my point even stronger. Yeah, come on, dude. Benfica. No. All right, we don't want to go back to that. Forget. I keep talking about Rio Ave and now the Sporting. I keep going back to those games. Not Rio Ave. Paços Ferreira. I keep talking. Every week it's kind of like three things we got to mention. Steven Vitória, Paços Ferreira, and now the Sporting.
And Marco and Peggy.
Oh, those guys.
Don't forget those two.
Yeah, those guys are part of the team.
Marco's actually up watching us. He woke up with
sandpaper in his mouth or something like that, he said.
And
he's not feeling well. But he's listening to the Benfica podcast. At least he has a smile. So that's
feeling better now, and he could also feed the baby when.
At least we know that we might not be able to inform people on what's going on in the Benfica world, but we could definitely make you smile because we making them smile.
That's right. Anyway, I think that's all we got. There might have been some problems also with the YouTube video. I'm hearing some people are texting me saying that they weren't able to check that out, but we'll look into that. And unfortunately, because of the weather that's being felt up here in North America, Chris and I are in separate locations. I wanted to put a nice beach background behind me, but I couldn't make it happen. But anyway, next week we'll be back. We will look back at the Aroca game. We'll also look ahead to the big game against Braga, which I'm hoping that I'll be at. So I think that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. Steve, thank you very much for coming in for 5 minutes, bro.
For joining, Steven. Next week.
I don't know if I should give your full Twitter name or just half of it.
No, but hold on. Next week.
Why only half?
Yeah, because you were only here for 5 minutes.
Oh.
You're a second half player. But listen, next week you need to come on with your glasses because you're much sexier with your glasses on, Steve.
I'll try to remember that, man.
Now you can see all the ladies right now running to YouTube. A little late. You gotta watch the video.
Ladies, if you're looking for Steve, he comes on about 45 minutes in.
Don't tell them like that. They could actually watch us. Come on, man. Now nobody's gonna watch the first 20 minutes of the pod. They're gonna fast forward. Peggy's gonna fast forward for sure.
I think that's about it. Thank you very much. At 10CO10 is Chris's Twitter. At Steve Santos 6 is Steve. At Benfica Podcast, BenficaPodcast.com, planetbenfica.co.uk. Don't forget to check us out on YouTube. You can watch us record these podcasts live on YouTube. What else? Facebook, Talking to the Benfica Podcast.
Todos assaltar.
I think that's all I got.
That's it.
That's all she wrote.
Let's get
Have a
another.
good night, everybody.
Yeah, let's get another victory this weekend. So like that we'd be in good spirits next week. Hopefully the snow stop coming up around this way, even though we're supposed to get like 10 inches on Thursday. Ay.
That's the most important thing.
That just demoralized me.
That the snow goes away.
Okay.
Just demoralized me.
Thank you very much, everybody.
We have to go too now.
Arrivederci.
Bye, everybody.
I'll talk to you again next week. See ya.
See you.